Hello, I'm Mark, and this is the Fast Track Impact podcast, where we look at how researchers can become more productive and use their work to achieve real-world impacts. In today's podcast, I'm going to ask, what is motivating people to engage with your research? I'll tell you about some research that I did where we asked people why they had engaged with researchers, and we were told 4 main things. But before we get to that, I'd like to introduce this week's research impact tip. My tip is to create a newsletter out of your Twitter feed. Now, like me, many of you may well have tried to create a newsletter at some point about a project, about your research. And it is incredibly difficult to keep up that great work every month, every quarter, because research just doesn't move that fast. There isn't that much to say about your project, even about your institute, on that regular a basis usually. It is a bit of a monumental effort. So what I'm going to suggest is that you draw on last month's tweets. So if, like me, you tweet not only about your own research, but about other people's research, papers that you're reading about, then great. You actually have access to that behind the paywall. You understand it. You've put it into plain language, hopefully, for your tweet. And that means that you now can translate that for others and add value to others by putting that into your newsletter. Maybe you're going to expand it and put something based on the abstract as well. And if, like me, you're tweeting about other interesting things in the news, generally around your subject area, then there's a whole wealth of other stuff that you can draw on as well. I think that many of us think if we're doing a newsletter, it has to only be about our research, about our project. The reality is most people who sign up to a newsletter about our research are actually interested in everything that is around that area, not just you or just your research. So if you can actually pull out all of this stuff just by going through your tweets, then you can actually add value to this audience on a regular basis and, of course, sneak in that latest research finding. But the pressure's off. You don't have to have an entire newsletter's worth of stuff. Now, I like to do this kind of manually myself and make it look nice. It's kind of more adaptable if you do like this, but you can get this done automatically for you. So if you Google Twitter newspaper, you'll find a load of different tools that do this. Paper.li is probably the most widely used, the tweeted times. And these will just go through your last month, week, whatever it is, and look through your tweets and the things that you're interested in and produce a newsletter based on that. It's not very adaptable, probably not what you're going to want, but you can get a sense for how this might look and actually how useful this is if you are tweeting in a particular area. So my tip is use your Twitter feed to make a regular project newsletter. So the main topic today is looking at motives, and I want to try and think with you about the kind of motives that people might have for engaging with your research. I think if we understand the motives that people have for engaging with research, then it's a lot easier to engage with people. We can put ourselves in their shoes, we can begin to understand how they're thinking, how they're feeling, what their desires are, so that we can then begin to connect with those motives and offer people things from our research that actually connect with what makes them tick. There are 2 ways that we can think about this. I mean, for those of you who are primarily trying to connect with members of the public, then, for example, there may be a motive which is about a curiosity, an interest, an intrigue that people have to understand the world around them, to understand themselves, or to understand society or whatever. And if these are the kinds of people that are interested in your research, then you can start to think, well, what can I do to communicate this research, which will develop that sense of mystery and intrigue and wonder, and that might give us the kind of fascinating details that will really hook people in and make people want to read more, engage more, and find out more. Exercise that inner curiosity within yourself and try and put yourself in that person's shoes and try and work out what is innately curious and interesting and fascinating about your work. Alternatively, perhaps these are members of the public who simply want to be inspired. They want their day to be brightened up. They want to connect with something deeper. And perhaps there might be some aspect of your research that can connect with this. So some aesthetic, something which is intrinsically beautiful or attractive that is linked to your research, or that kind of gets beneath the surface of something which is intrinsically beautiful or attractive. Or some sense of who people are, where they want to be in life, that connects with that sense of aspiration that can enable them to understand themselves and keep themselves on the path that they want to be on. The other way that we can think about this then is for people who want to actually use our research. So I'm going to think here now about stakeholders. Now, my colleagues and I did some research where we went out and we asked a whole load of different stakeholders who had engaged with research, what was it that made them engage with those researchers and with those research findings? And they told us 4 things. So the first thing that they told us was that by engaging with researchers, they could access funding sources that they couldn't otherwise have accessed. Some of these were people from NGOs, third sector organisations, who were able to collaborate with researchers to access pots of money from research projects that could help them achieve their organisational goals that they could not have accessed otherwise. Businesses also cited the same kind of reason, that actually this is about new business opportunities, whether it's new technologies, products, or new ways of doing things, which are perhaps just simply more effective or more efficient because of the insights that they can gather from collaborating with researchers. The second motive that people told us was that working with researchers helped them to think out of the box, helped them to get new ideas and develop new solutions to old problems that perhaps they'd been working on for years, or perhaps they'd even given up on trying to solve. But by coming across new methods, new theories, new ways of thinking, there was the prospect, at least, of being able to really break through on these really recalcitrant problems. The third thing that people told us was that they felt that it was possible for them in their professional lives to increase their organisation or their personal impact and influence. By collaborating with researchers connected to a university, there is an element of prestige. So yes, we are developing some new program, yes, we're doing something innovative, but this isn't just some new thing that's come out of my head. This is something that is being done with a university. It gives that element of prestige, of credibility that they felt they might not have had by themselves. Now, as researchers, we might say, well, hey, does it really make that much of a difference? But I think we forget how we are perceived by the outside world, and the brand that our universities carry, and sometimes our personal brand as researchers, can be really powerful, and people want a slice of that. And by collaborating with us, they can get some of that rubbing off on the work that they're doing with us. And finally, the fourth reason that people told us that they were engaging with researchers was an intrinsic motivation to make the world a better place. Now, this applied across people from businesses as much as it applied to people from the third sector, where there are many businesses out there who are in business because they want to affect change for the good. And it's not just for their family and to earn themselves a living. Very often this is about developing a concept, a company, an organisation that is doing its bit to influence the world for better, to change society, to protect the environment, or whatever it is. And you might say, well, cynically, yeah, they would say that, it's all just PR. But when you actually talk to the people, very often there is that real fire, that real passion to make a difference through their business. And by working with researchers, they feel empowered to be able to do that more effectively. And linked to this intrinsic kind of motivation was an idea about just wanting to learn. So that intrinsic kind of curiosity and inquisitiveness about the issues being researched. And yeah, this is something that I am personally interested in, or that my company or sector is interested in, and I want to learn, I want to develop. There may be no concrete outcome from this, or it may be 10 years from now, but I want to learn, I want to be on that cutting edge. And as researchers, we have the privilege of being able to take people onto that cutting edge. And if we can explain what we're doing in simple terms that everyone can understand, then we can actually have a shared sense of standing on that edge, hand in hand, trying to solve problems together, and co-owning a research project that everyone feels is really moving things forward in a really exciting way. And that can be incredibly motivational. So whatever it is that you're doing, have a think about these 4 motives. Accessing future funding and business opportunities, developing new solutions to old problems, increasing the personal or organisational impact and influence, and intrinsic motivations to make the world a better place, or a desire to learn about the issues being researched. And whether you are working with stakeholders who might want to use your research in a very specific way for a specific purpose, or whether you're working more broadly with the public, I believe that by connecting with those motives and understanding what is actually driving people, you can begin to connect far more effectively and far more intelligently. Now, the last thing I'm going to say here is that I think that one of the most powerful things about this is recognizing how different people's motives are from person to person. And I think that there is often an assumption that a certain type of person or a certain segment of the public is going to be interested for X reasons. And yes, there may be a particular reason that is more common than other reasons, but the next person lives next door, the next organisation or company down the road may actually be interested in engaging with you for very different reasons. And if you just have that one motive in your mind, and that is the only way in which you're trying to engage with people and draw people into your research, then the chances are that you're going to miss a whole load of really important opportunities to engage with a much more diverse and enriching community of people who want to work with you. Every week I'd like to conclude with some action points based on the main segment that you can put into practice right now and over the coming week. And this week I would like to ask you to come up with more than one motive that people might have for engaging with your research. Now, this can be a motive based on intrinsic motives of interest, personal interest, wanting to learn, wanting to be inspired, that kind of thing. Or it could be a motive that is about something someone could more tangibly get as a result of engaging with your research. The point is, I want you to come up with more than one so that you don't get stuck in the trap of thinking that there is only one reason why people would approach you, would engage with you, would be interested in what you're doing. Now, if you want to be really clever, you can try and think of more than one motive from within a single segment of the public, from within a single organisation or company that you have a hunch might be interested in what you're doing. It's easier to do this by thinking about 2 quite different groups who are interested in your work. Chances are the different groups will have different motives for engaging in your work. But take this step, if you can, take this leap of imagination so that you have at least got 2 if not more, things in your head that will help you to reach out in new ways and in ways that you might not have reached out before, to really motivate people to engage with your work.